You said some people are saying that, they might stay at home. Is that an indication that you have been unable to change people's minds and get them to actually vote for you? Okay, Dr. Shallow, we are less than 48 hours away. How does it feel?
Ready. We've been working extremely hard for the last year, building up towards this. Since I became the candidate for North Leeward for the New Democratic Party, we have been preparing for this moment. And you could tell when the election was announced a few weeks ago, you thought it was the New Democratic Party that actually announced the election, because we have been working so hard over the last year plus. And so indeed, Kenton, I'm ready. My entire team, they're ready. The people, most importantly, are ready. They cannot wait to go and place their X's, individually X next to the key come Thursday.
What gives you that confidence that the majority of electors here would vote for you?
Again, it's just speaking to the people. We have gone to the houses, they have welcomed me to their homes, with big smiles. We have engaged, because what I've been saying from day one is this is not about Kishore Shallow, this is not about the New Democratic Party. This is about you, the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines. And so they have over and over repeatedly tell us about their struggles, their pain. And you get phone calls in the night, in the early mornings. It is genuine suffering. And we know for a fact that, a mere handout or efforts on the eve of election is not going to change people's minds after they have suffered for 4.5+ years. You've been given examples where people have been affected by the volcano and burial, but only now, mere hours really away from election, some people are just getting materials, right? People are just getting other form of assistance. So we know that the people, they are not going to change. And I mean, a significant majority. And what has really stood out to me, Kenton, is the fact that when you speak even to Labour, traditional Labour supporters, they are saying that they cannot support this party anymore. They are saying that this party has lost the way, right? This is not a representation of the old Labour. That is what you're hearing from, traditional supporters. Some are saying even the worst case scenario is that they are staying home, right? But they say if they go to the polling station, there's no way they could place an X anywhere else but next to the key. So we are very confident that they're going and vote for us.
But is that an indication if people, maybe we come out of the ring?
I go there unless you have a problem.
Okay, all right. So is this an indication? You said some people are saying that, they might stay at home. Is that an indication that you have been unable to change people's minds and get them to actually vote for you?
There are traditional Labour supporters, right, who believe in this party, right, over the years, and they're disappointed, and they may come around to it eventually. So, for example, former MP Mike Brown, we have heard him said flat out he cannot vote this election because he's not going to support the ULP, right? And that is how some traditional Labour. So while we have converted a significant number of these supporters, right, there are some who just would not turn up to the, and we really don't mind though. It is sometimes a process to transition in, and if this transition starts by them staying home this time and next time they support us, that's absolutely fine. But the majority we have spoken to, they feel the pain of their neighbors, their family, their friends, and they're saying they're going to vote in solidarity with them to effect change come November 27th.
Okay, you said you've been speaking with your constituents. What are some of the major issues that they've been raising with you?
Cost of living, ridiculously high. We feel it's right across the country. The unemployment rate is extremely high as well. When you look around and you see people, even the ones with jobs, they can't provide at the end of the month. They might be able to afford a little grocery, they might be able to pay a bill or two, but after that their accounts are depleted. So it's different reasons. The talk just this morning, I was speaking to someone in Peterborough, and they say, we're supposed to have a smart hospital in Chateaubelair. But you turn up to Chateaubelair and they're telling you need to go to Chumka to see if you could get medication. You have to go to a pharmacy to get medicine. So they understand that even pharmaceuticals, you can't get by the hospital. Treatment, people are not, the doctors are not there sometimes, because they are overworked as well. Same for the nurses. So there are so many issues. But if you come to the root of the issue, I heard you speaking to a gentleman before. He tell you about the Quarry project. You notice the government, they have been muted on that from ever since really. Reno speaks more about it than the government, right? So you have the Quarry project. People haven't forgotten about the vaccine mandate and the representative. You could imagine, you know, people on the ash, right, scared for their life, and their representative is saying you cannot come on the boat unless you're vaccinated. That is inhumane. People are not going to forget that. Never, right? When you have an MP going around and rather than caring for people, he is threatening people. We heard from Rasnati, allegedly, but you know what I mean, you have to go and tackle that with Rasnati. I have only repeated what Rasnati said, right? And it is well documented. And there are other instances. So one, people are not going to support this current representative. And the fact that ULP has let them down so much. I'll give one final example. For years, the road at Sibyl Hill been compromised. That road been out of commission for over a year, right? But on the mere eve of election, it took them 2 weeks to come and fix the road.
You mean the completion the work took 2 weeks?
The work took 2 weeks.
But it was sitting there for over a year.
It was sitting there for an extended period of time, and it took them mere 2 weeks. In fact, when I spoke to the contractor, Renault said it's a couple of days work, it's a quick work, you know. But they prolonged it for about 2 weeks just so it doesn't look too bad. But think about it, it took them so long to get it done. And they didn't even do it, there's still a lot more work to do. Renault himself would have liked to do the entire project. But they say, oh, it's election time, so let us get that alone done.
Okay, so about the quarry, right? You said people are displeased about it. How do you plan to address that?
For one, we have to do an assessment of the quarry, right? And we understand it has created employment, so there are people who are there and who have benefited from it. But if you compare that to the number of farmers, right, who have been affected, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars lost, right? It is not justified at this point. So we have to do an assessment. We have to first take care of the farmers who have been displaced, who have lost millions of dollars from the crop. We have to take care of them and assess the situation there. Once we have done an assessment, then we can make an informed decision. And what the people of Chateaubelair, Fitzhugh, and even Richmond, what the people are saying, you know, is that we didn't mind if you put a quarry there, but come and consult with us first. And we have to go through that process of getting that consultation. It is not too late, and we are 100% committed to getting that done still.
You said you've had interactions with Mr. Reno. Mr. Gajada, what have those interactions been like?
I haven't gone into details with him about, I met him and spoke to him about the project when I went to. I haven't spoken to him about the quarry, right? Because that is an official matter. I'm standing firmly with the people on that quarry. Whatever the people decide is what I'm going to support, right? So we get the technical assessment done. We take that to the people, get feedback from them. If they say to continue the project, we continue. If they say no, and the data and the technical assessment is there to show that we should not, then we stop the project, right? But we will make a decision. In terms of Renault conversation, I spoke to him specifically about Sibyl Hill. And that was my question, I asked him how long it's going to take. You know, I didn't get the cost, unfortunately. I was trying to get the cost of the project had done, but I didn't get that.
I'd like to ask you though, being out of government for 25 years, should the NDP prevail, you are going in, and one of the things that you don't hear on the campaign trail is the grind of governance and government, and dealing with 25 years worth of need and want by people who did not support this organization. How does the party, as an administration, intend to address the immediate flood of needs that you will have from people who are very hopeful on the campaign trail that would prevent them from descending into despair, while the grind of governance, you cope with that and finding your feet and all of that?
You know, one of the reasons why I believe intentions are going to vote overwhelmingly against this government, it is because of how people have been victimized and marginalized for opportunities. Dr. Friday and the entire team, we have said repeatedly on the platform that we are going to create more and better jobs. So by creating more jobs, it means that other people who have been given opportunities over the years would get jobs. Now we know it may take some time, but we have said to people, let us be patient. This is not going to be an overnight fix, but we are going to work together. There are some pledges that have been given by Dr. Friday. We are going to implement those immediately within the first 60 days. but the rest of the process is going to take some time, and I'm sure Vincentian will benefit from it. But importantly, in St. Vincent and Grenadines, just like what exists in other parts of the region and the world, we have to ensure that we have a system where people are recruited on merit, right? Once people are recruited on merit, then you won't have any issues. You can't have one man making $40,000 a month while we have 40 young people sitting at home. If you give them $1,000 each, think about it. So it can't be just about friends and families. We have to go through a system where every Vincentian feel as though they have an opportunity for opportunities here.
Moving a little bit away from the micropolitics and looking at the Caribbean space, the regional space, I haven't heard much from the NDP on what their position is within this geopolitical conversation that the Caribbean is being dragged into in light of what's happening in the Southern Caribbean.
Yeah, we're about obviously building relations, strengthening our relationship with our allies, CARICOM and so on. One of the first things I suspect Dr. Friday will do when he assumes the office of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines is have conversations with his colleagues across the region, get an understanding and appreciation for where CARICOM sits with most of these, and I'm sure that he will give his opinion, and in most cases I suspect he will align. But let us wait on Dr. Friday to go and sit with his colleagues at CARICOM.
I wanted to ask a question about your performance at Cricket West Indies. Do you think that would have any impact on the election side?
I think if any impact, it would probably be in my favor. I mean, most people from North Leeward are extremely proud to have somebody from North Leeward as the president of Cricket West Indies. They are intelligent enough as well, especially those persons who have been paying keen and close attention to West Indies cricket over the years, to know that our worries, our inconsistent performance didn't start from 2023 when I assumed office. In fact, if you look at the stats closely, you would see an improvement, certainly off the field and in some cases on the field. But I've been totally honest with cricket stakeholders over the years since becoming the vice president and then presidency by saying Cricket West Indies is absolutely no quick fix. There's no overnight magic that we're going to work, because our deficiencies have been with us for such a long time. Since the 80s and 90s, we had people calling on the region, right, the government in the region to invest in cricket, right? We have been calling on stakeholders. Recently we talked about Caribbean Airlines, who make millions of dollars from us, but do not reinvest any money into cricket. Not at the West Indies level, but locally. So people understand that the challenges are not just with Kishore Shallow, but by and large, I would say that people of North Leeward and Vincentian on a whole, barring one or two people who are just speaking for the sake of keeping noise, right? But by and large, Vincentians are proud to have someone from this soil as president of Cricket West Indies.
What happens if you win this week? You remain president of West Indies cricket? How does that work?
What happens when I win?
When you win, yeah.
Right. We make the decision, you will know probably by Friday morning.
Yeah.
What is the one thing, you talked about stats improving, what is the one thing that you can point to and say, this is responsible under my watch in the driver's seat for any sort of slight improvement that West Indies cricket has seen in the last few years?
We hosted the biggest World Cup in the history of cricket. Last year, that was only 2024, where we generated significant amount of money for the region. Those 6 countries that hosted cricket in the Caribbean, they all benefited. St. Vincent alone benefited over $200 million. In fact, we've been bragging about, the government been bragging about the boost in the numbers for tourism without crediting Cricket World Cup for that, right? So that is one major success. Also in the same year, we signed, December last year, we signed a record deal with Caribbean Cage, a company where we are establishing a partnership in the gaming industry, which in the first 10 years is going to generate $100 million. This is the biggest commercial deal in the history of West Indies cricket. So that is just 2. We established new policies for women to ensure that there's parity, there's equity between male and female. In the past, men were flying first class, men were staying in separate bedroom rooms at hotels. The women had to share rooms, right? Adults leaving their home had to share rooms. They were traveling economy class, right, across the world. We changed that. That cost the organization annually between $500,000 to $1 million. So we have made remarkable progress off the field. But the consistency that we need on the field, that won't come until We improve our system throughout the entire Caribbean. We improve our infrastructure, which Cricket West Indies, we don't own infrastructure. We own one facility in the entire Caribbean, and that is in Antigua. So we need to work closely with the governments across the region. And by and large, they have that understanding now, right? That they have to invest more in infrastructure so that we could have better performance on the field. But that is going to come probably 5 years down the line.
Okay, so the question I asked was, what was one thing that you can point to that you did that you can link to this improvement in stats that you referred to a while earlier?
Well, those things have a bearing on every, so you can't credit, let me tell you, right? In cricket, on the field performance, we have the board approve of coaches, right, and executive staff. That is what we do. We have a CEO. I keep repeating that I am a chair of a board, right? I'm not an executive president by any means. We have a CEO who is responsible for the day-to-day running of Cricket West Indies. We set policies, we guide policies, right? And that is our role as a Cricket West Indies board, right? We have a secretariat which has over 50 staff plus all our contractors and so on. So directly, you could say that the policies that we have made in the boardroom have affected the performances on the field. But don't forget that after hiring Darren Sammy, right, we moved from a ranking of about 8 or 9 in T20s and reached up to number 3 in the world at one point. In fact, we reached the World Cup, right, and we're just barely shy of making it to the semi-final. 1 game loss against South Africa. Our women's team, right, don't forget their performance in the World Cup as well, right, with Hayley Matthews leading, and Hayley Matthews in probably the top 3 in the world across all formats. So those are things that we have benefited and improved on. But the challenge remains, and the reason why we probably don't celebrate those things at Cricket West Indies is because we want more consistency on the field. And until we could get that level of consistency on the field, you certainly won't find a board under my leadership celebrating, because we know we have a lot more work to do.